Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this episode of BiblioTech On Air from BiblioTech's official podcast. I'm Rosanna.
I'm Israel.
And I'm Ruby.
And today we are going to be talking about the sensational teen series, also adapted into a live series on Netflix and available, of course, through our resources on cloudLibrary and Hoopla, Heartstopper. And that's it. No, I'm kidding. But Heartstopper, it spans 6 volumes, in addition to various spin-offs, starring, some of the minor characters. Great little series. We're about to get into it right now. And before I forget, it's written by Alice Oseman, so I think that might be a little important detail.
Yeah.
But with that said, let's get right into it. So Heartstopper, it is a story about a group of teens specifically focused on Nick and Charlie, a group or a pair of boys going to high school. Nick is kind of the jock, nice guy, well-rounded. Charlie, he's one of the few openly gay kids at the school. And so the story revolves around them, their friendship, eventually their romance, in addition to the supporting cast of friends. So getting right into that off the bat, how would you guys compare this series to other teen series out there, such as Euphoria or, more kind of edgy series? Because if you can tell by the color palette, it's a very heartwarming series. Some could say heart-stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a big difference from Euphoria.
A lot more tame. Yeah, a lot more tame.
Very sweet, very cute. It's hard not to blush while you're reading it. It's just aw. It takes you back to those good times.
Yeah, especially since they're teenagers. It's hard, kind of not to see yourself somewhere in there,
right?
Throughout the series. But yeah, definitely a lot more tame than Euphoria.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it still carries really important messages, such as the importance of, being independent, mental health, communicating.
It feels like one of those good after school specials that you watch.
Yeah, sometimes I'm not gonna lie. I was telling y'all this before, but it's so sweet and it's so cute. It gets to a point where I'm like, oh, these guys are nauseatingly sick. Y'all are cute, but dang, this is.
Which it's actually, I feel like it makes a lot of sense though. They're teenagers. It's like their first loves.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like that.
Yeah, and I mean it makes absolute sense. As a teen, I do think about what would it be like if I would have had this series around as a teen, I know it would have been insanely popular in high school. There probably would have been holds at the library and stuff. In fact, there's a hold for volume 6 right now on cloudLibrary. Yeah, and it's still popular. It's very popular.
Yeah.
But it's just I think it's such a positive influence.
Definitely.
Even through the negatives and the hard struggles they go through, it's still such a good series, and I really would recommend teens and even, pretty much anyone, teen, adult. There's adult characters in this book who have their own little storylines, and I really think anyone could benefit from just these cute little characters.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I was impressed with how I'm not usually a reader of comic books. So this one I feel like was the first lengthy. It's really lengthy comic book volumes. But I was really surprised at how much depth each character had. I felt like I really understood each one and their personalities separately. I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, which is very interesting because I definitely agree. But Alice does a great job of introducing these characters to us and showing us each their personality. Because it's not very, there isn't a lot of words. Honestly, you kind of just zoom by reading it because there's also just pages where it's just the graphics, the images, But no, yeah, I definitely agree. With Tao, I wanted a lot more from Tao and Elle as well. Those are probably my 2 favorite characters, or at least their relationship.
I like that you mentioned that because with Tao and Elle, we see that, Elle is a trans character who is still friends with the boys. She's starting at an all-girls school, and Tao and Elle, they have feelings for each other. But, we see that ultimately it doesn't work out for them, but they still maintain that friendship. I think it's kind of a good, other side of the coin, I guess, compared to Nick and Charlie. Because everyone's you guys are Nick and Charlie, which...
Y'all are going to stay together forever.
Yeah.
And I like that they never kind of put that pressure on themselves as far as we're Nick and Charlie. What does that mean? But we see that, and they resolve their issues, and we see Tao and Elle decide this isn't going to work for us. This is going to hurt us more than it's going to hurt more if we stay together than
Yeah.
we break up. So, but it is good to see that, like, you know, kind of good comparison, because it just kind of goes to show, like, not everything works out.
Yeah.
And kind of funny enough, it is a hetero presenting. It's still a queer relationship, I think, because of L.
Yeah.
L. But like, you know, on the outside looking in, it's like, you know, still hetero coded in that boy girl. And then we see Darcy and Tara, who, you know, they're the resident lesbians of the group.
Yeah, they got locked in the band room together, something like that, right?
You know, it's what a stereotype.
For real, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so we see, like, you know, kind of relationships all over the spectrum, and we see how they go through their issues. It's really a little something for everyone, even the adult characters, which I think is probably my favorite couple in the book, for Mr. Farouk and Mr. Ajayi. They're so cute, and one of them's kind of going through, you know, late in life gay, hasn't really had those teen experiences.
Yeah, and late in life is like he's 26. And when I got to that part and he's like, I'm 26, you know, I didn't get those teen experiences. I'm like, 26,
You're like,
God, wow, okay.
That's young.
Yeah, 26. That
They
sounds pretty
aged
good.
him very much in the comic
Which
book.
Alice Oseman, she does a very good job of that, because he looks tired. He looks
does.
weathered in the book. So it makes
Like,
you
typical
think, like,
teacher.
Do we look like that on the outside?
Shoot, I know I do.
tell us in the comments. Link below.
Has
No, I'm
life
kidding.
aged
How are my
us?
bags?
Bag check on Isle Israel. But, you know, kind of getting back into it, we just talked about the supporting cast of characters. And so how important do you think it was that Nick and Charlie, as well as everyone else, you know, have this supportive family, have this supportive group of friends to fall back on, the teachers? Because we see that not everyone has that support. Like with Darcy, we see her get kicked out.
Right.
You know, well, they, them, because they start to identify, you know, as non-binary. But on the flip side, we see Nick's mom, who is just absolutely, you know, the goat, sweet. They have such a good relationship where Nick can talk to her about anything. And then Charlie, like, his parents are there,
They're just there.
but they're just there. So I mean, it's so important, I think, to have this group.
I definitely think that this is an ideal scenario.
For
right?
sure.
You know, they go through their challenges, but for the most part, they all have strong support systems.
Yes.
They have a group of friends. They have a family that supports them. I think maybe the worst is that Nick's brother is like super like homophobic and things like that.
And just kind of a general douche.
But even towards the end, we kind of get a little glimpse into why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
You know? But it's super important, especially like when you're coming out, when Charlie was getting bullied. I'm sure his parents were there supporting him.
It is interesting to see that the characters that you could say are the villains in the group, in the story, we really don't hear or see about them having like that support group. Like with Ben, you know, he's kind of struggling with his own bisexuality, but he weaponizes it, or like not weaponizes it, but he's a bit more miserable, and he projects that onto Charlie, you know, by just kind of being like, well, you know, I'm not gay. You were just, I felt bad for you because you were gay. And then we see Harry too. Harry's just kind of a rich kid that's, you know, been enabled.
Yeah. You know, the character of Ben is interesting. And that's putting it lightly, because he like sexually assaults.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Charlie. And that was a very big thing. And I understand this is like a book for teenagers. I would have liked to have seen the consequences from that a little bit more, because that was pretty major.
Like if an adult were to find out, like a teacher
Or maybe for Charlie and Nick to have processed that a little bit more, because that's a very big thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Alice had made her decisions for certain reasons. I think the way it played out is the way it played out. I think it helped them become stronger and closer together. But man, I just think if that happened to, you know, one of my children or something like that, or someone that I know, I would like to see consequences.
Yeah.
You know, I do wonder if he told his parents about that as well.
Right, because we see the immediate payoff from that, because Nick's there to help him. But like, what if Nick weren't there to help him? You know, how is he gonna talk about this? Like, we know that his parents can set him up with therapy at any time, and they offer to. But what if Nick wasn't there? How much worse could it have been? It's
Yeah.
already bad because there's no consent there, and they're very like clear about consent in this book. All right, so kind of getting into the comparison of adult characters versus the young characters, we see the teens develop their relationships, kind of learn along the way, but we also see that from some of the adult characters. We see that from Mr. Farouk and Mr. Ajayi. They have their own like little nothing too in depth, but we see them develop as a couple along with like the teens, and then we also see kind of the consequences or the result of failed relationships, such as Nick's mom who's divorced from their dad, and they kind of touch into that a little bit. Charlie's mom and dad who are still together, and they appear to love each other. So how do y'all think the importance of those relationships really plays into the story and just overall development?
I really like that they added that in there. And as much as I wanted depth from them, like I would love to see a whole side story of the teachers. I feel like that's just the way it is, like from the student's perspective when you're in like high school. Or
Why would the teachers tell you that?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember
it's no one's
It'd
business.
be inappropriate, to be honest.
I remember when I was in middle school and we saw like teachers like start talking. They seemed a little friendly, and then all of a sudden they're married. I'm like, wow, like we saw all of that happen, but kind of just briefly.
My ship came to life.
So I like that there's just touches of that in here, and it's very cute.
Yeah. So also going into some of the issues that we see with Heartstopper, we see various depictions of mental illness, eating disorders, even codependency. Thank you. I was looking for the word right now in my head, and just kind of a slew of all of that on top of lack of communication, really internalizing your issues. How do you think these issues were portrayed with this particular cast of characters? And is there something that maybe you would have liked to see play out better, like Ben's story or, something along the lines?
I really liked that they brought out the issue of the codependency, because at first, like, they're obviously in love. They're so infatuated with each other. They just love hanging out with each other all the time. But then I think Nick starts getting the voices in his head where he's like, wow, like, I'm kind of a little dependent on Nick. Like, I don't feel... I mean, Charlie, Jesus.
They're Nick and Charlie. They're interchangeable.
He's like, I feel like I can't be myself when I'm not with him. And then, so Charlie's sister, Charlie's sister, Tori, starts talking to Charlie about what she's seeing. It doesn't seem healthy. And that he might have to address that with Nick.
Yeah, for sure. Because we see that Nick slowly just kind of puts everything into the relationship with Charlie. He doesn't really have time for his own things, and he's so focused on trying to be the perfect boyfriend, the perfect just like there for Charlie, make sure nothing's wrong with him. He almost infantilizes Charlie in a way, and not that he's doing it on purpose, he just doesn't realize that like Charlie is practically a young man at this point. Like, not everything in life is going to be perfect. It's just as long as you're there to support him, be there for him.
And we see Charlie too becoming more what's the word I'm looking for?
Like assertive, independent,
he's becoming
confident.
more confident, more independent.
Yeah.
He
joins the band.
He joins the band. He becomes head boy of the school. He starts taking on those responsibilities, and Nick is kind of just there.
Yeah.
And he sees that, and he starts getting insecure with himself, seeing Charlie glow up like this.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, so Nick is a lot. Well, Charlie's popular, right? Nick is also very popular, but he's also already been surrounded by a group of individuals in the rugby team. Where he has a solid group of friends. He knows who he is. So Charlie is coming out of himself. And then Nick is also just in a different like point in his life. He's about to go to college, so it's right in front of him that like, hey, I love this guy, I love my boyfriend, but I also want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous. I'm scared that what if we break up for whatever reason, right? So yeah, he's definitely a lot more confronted. So it makes sense why could be a little bit codependency. And then I do like that they explore Charlie's eating disorder.
Yeah.
Right? And then also too that he did self-harm as well. Those are very real things. And I think Alice did a good job of portraying that very gently.
Right, without being too graphic or overtly
Exactly.
like, oh, they're, bleeding on like 10 pages and stuff
Exactly.
like
Because
that.
like even the bullying that Charlie endured because he was outed, right? We don't see any of it.
Right.
Or much of it. My memory fails me. We don't really see it. And I think I'm glad that we see Charlie at the point that we see him, because I can't imagine how difficult it was. We later find out that it was Tao's probably big mouth that kind of outed him. But even at that too, they were able to,
reconcile that.
reconcile,
That's
talk
pretty
about
crazy.
it.
Yeah.
But these are very real things, very real issues that teenagers go through. Very real issues that if you don't explore them when you're an adult, they're still there.
It's going to come out
They're
one way
still
or
there.
another.
Yeah. And thankfully for Mr. Farouk, he has, a good support system in this other teacher, right?
Yeah.
And they do start talking to each other. Not everybody has that. As an adult, not everybody has that. But I'm glad that they have a good, strong group of friends where they're able to talk about, and they're not scared to talk about it,
Yeah.
because it could be a very scary thing.
It is, yeah. But once you start putting it out there, it's one of those things you got to put into practice. Like the more you do it, the more comfortable, because it's easy on one hand to say like, come talk to me about anything. But what if you're on the flip side of that and it's like, oh man, I need to talk about this, or I need to share, I gotta,
That's what Nick was struggling with, and that's why he had to talk to his mom, because he's like, I don't know how to handle this kind of situation. Like, I can't be there enough for Charlie to just stop having an eating disorder.
Yeah.
That's something that he needs professional help with.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I love that his mom, we never see like, her shame Nick for anything. Like she's just such a pro in the like kind of,
The mom
let me give
book.
it to you straight, but also like in
Not
a
too straight.
gentle way. Not too straight, but
She's an ally.
She's an ally. Well, I don't know. What if we get a spin-off story down the line and she's like, but
She
different
goes off the
trajectory.
deep end.
Maybe. Things happen.
But I do think also like kind of going back to the Nick thing, a lot of that codependency probably comes from like his own parents' divorce.
Exactly.
Because they say he's not old enough to remember when his mom and dad were together. But, that's going to affect any kid regardless.
And we also do get when Nick's talking to his mom, he's like, his mom is, you do the same thing with your dad. You were trying to get his approval. You were trying to get his affection.
Be the perfect son.
And here's the thing. Your relationship with others, right, does depend on your relationship with, it's going to be your parents or your guardians or your lack of.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of these issues do come from. So it makes a lot of sense. And I think Alice did, again, a good job of that.
Yes.
That's showing a very real thing that happens regardless of your sexual orientation.
Exactly. There's things outside of that,
Exactly, yeah.
And so getting into the heart of this story, someone say heart stopping.
Let's get to the heart.
That's better. I like that one. Israel's so right. The heart, the meat, the emotional center of
The
this book.
stoppers themselves.
The
The
boys.
Heartstoppers themselves, the boys, Nick and Charlie. We've seen them as little baby gays kind of mature and grow up into these, just about
Big
ready
gays.
for college, sweet grown-up gays, with Charlie, who's been the openly gay one since, the beginning of high school, and Nick, who didn't even know bisexuality was a thing until he Googled it, like, pretty
gay.
much every teen does.
Am I gay? Take the gay quiz.
It's like,
He was
BuzzFeed.
80% gay.
what would you say like the top 3 like teen searches are? Like, am I pregnant? Am I gay? Does my crush like me?
Why does my dad hate me?
Oh my gosh.
You know what? That's probably in his search history as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
But their relationship is just the moving center, driving force behind this story.
Yeah.
So starting from the beginning, where we see just the little inklings of everything developing to now, where they're just they're
In love.
committed, they're in love,
They've had relations.
They've done everything that a relationship does. They're going to be going their separate ways soon, but not breaking up.
Yeah.
So how do you see that working out for them and everything that they've worked through to get to this point. Do you see them lasting? Do you see them having a healthy long distance relationship?
I really love their story. I do. Yeah. I remember I was reading on Webtoons, I think, Alice's like Q&A.
Yeah.
And she was putting in like cute pictures of their wedding, their honeymoon.
When they're all together with grandkids.
Yeah, exactly. Like them talking about having kids and if they want biological kids or whatever, all of that. She includes all of that. Cute little snippets. And I love that. So they have a happily ever after.
Spoiler alert.
The end.
I love I love the whole story of the relationship because it felt very natural.
Yes.
Again, good job, Alice. No, a very natural relationship. They encountered issues that are very real, regardless of the type of relationship that it is.
Yeah.
Right? So they go from having crushes, they go from being boyfriend and then, talking about like, hey, are we ready to, take another step? What does that step look like? To Charlie to Nick being like, I'm going to move on. How's that going to look for us? It just felt very natural, very real issues that relationships endure.
Like they had all the necessary conversations as well with consent. And even Charlie was like, if he never wants to have relations, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
It was just all very honest, out there, open. Such a breeze.
Yeah. And we know, here's the thing. Having been teenagers, we know it's not like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We know it's not like that. Like I literally had to pry that Kimberly liked me, my wife now, that I knew she did. And I was like, just tell me. Like it was, it's a very real thing. Like to be awkward, to not have open communication. But we even see it in Nick and Charlie. They didn't have the best, communication for their internal
They still have
issues.
better than most teenagers.
Exactly.
Teenagers.
Like even their worst probably communication days are probably
the
best compared to other
there's some
folk.
adults who are not as good as that.
No, but I think that's kind of reflective of the importance of these stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It not only shows the issues that are commonly dealt with, but it also shows how to practice these healthy things, such as communication, reaching out, which is
even the friend group when they were playing the Truth or Dare game, and they were like how in those games you pressure people to like spill their secrets and like no matter what.
Yeah.
But these friends were like, no, we can't do that because what if we out someone? What if we do this? What if we do that? Like even everyone in here was just so had their head on their shoulders.
Yeah, it's all at the end of the day just about trying to have that healthy mindset, that healthy lifestyle. It's such a beautiful thing to read. And again, that's why I can't help but say I think so many people would benefit from reading this story. Teen, adult, older adults. It's genuinely for everyone.
Yeah, because it's hard not to see yourself, in the scenarios and situations that they go through. It's something that everybody has gone through, and that everybody should aspire to be as communicative with your friends, with your family, But yeah.
Cool. Well said.
Well said.
Any final thoughts y'all want to add? Did y'all have any specific panels that might have stuck out to you? Specific storylines that y'all enjoyed? Maybe a character that you want to see more of down the line if, Alice Oseman decides to write a little spin-off?
I definitely want to see more of Tao. Maybe with Elle, but I feel like there was a lot of depth to Tao that we haven't yet seen, right? I would like to see more from him.
Yeah.
Maybe as a college student, just to see how his experience is. Maybe even looking on the past and how his relationship with Elle, is influencing who he is now. But I think there's a lot that can be done.
I agree. I think so.
I love all those storylines. I want to watch the show.
Me too.
I was very I didn't know how going into reading the comics, and then I was like, oh, maybe might want to watch the show as well. Like at first, I didn't know how I would relate to it as well. But after reading it, it took me right back to high school. I love those coming of age stories. It reminded me of my favorite TV show when I was growing up, Awkward.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm now I want to watch the TV show and the movie that's going to come out this month.
Yeah.
Such a cute show.
What about you?
Highly recommend.
Anything you want to see? Any characters? Storyline?
I mean, I'm a sucker for the teacher storyline. They were so cute. But again, the way y'all put it, so y'all put it so well, in that it's not something that we're gonna get super big glimpses on, because again, it's kind of like the perspective of the student seeing it through the teachers. but it's still so cute, and I really love them.
Yeah.
I think a storyline that I also liked a lot was, I guess, probably the Paris one, just because it's so
yeah,
fun
that
to
one
see
was
them,
so
like,
fun.
you know, it was fun. We see them outside of the setting of school and just, you know, being in Britain. We still see them having fun, but having their issues, learning about themselves. I feel like that particular storyline was so important for their growth.
Definitely. Yeah,
for
love a
definitely.
good
almost
school
all the
trip.
characters, because we see Nick and Charlie kind of progressing a little bit in their relationship. Tao and Elle, they finally, you know, kind of become a couple, admit they like each other. Darcy and Tara, they just stay strong.
Yeah.
Aled, he is just doing his own thing still. We find out he has a little boo thing on the side, but we don't get a lot about him, actually.
With about Outlet, I think maybe they're a little bit as well. I think I would like to have seen a little bit more. But then again, you do have your friends that are kind of like that are
Yeah.
to themselves. They're your friend. They keep, you know.
They're still part of the group, but
yeah, exactly. You
they
know?
just kind of do their own thing. But it's nice to have them here. All right. So with that said, let's end it here. If you guys want to check out Heartstopper and its numerous spin-offs, as well as Alice Oseman's other works, please go to cloudLibrary and Hoopla. Check out this series with your BiblioTech library card. Cannot recommend it enough. And it's... Once you start reading it, you'll realize how quick you can get through
Exactly,
it because you want
yeah.
to keep reading.
It's a whole world, and I love a good world building. Like it's expansive. There's so much to read.
It's so fun. But with that said, thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of BiblioTech on Air. Once again, I'm Rosanna,
I'm Israel.
And I'm Ruby.
and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.